Hi folks, Canadian Prepper here. So due to popular demand, we are back with 10 more survival tools that will last forever, and this one is viewer informed. So let's get to it. Okay, so we live in a day and age where cheap single-serving junk attempts to subvert our better judgment using fancy packaging and deceptive marketing tactics, and this often overshadows quality gear that is built with pride and practicality in mind. The goal of this video is simple. Try to find survival related gear items which are built to last a lifetime without necessarily breaking the bank. Check out part 1 of this series here after this video to see my own personal top 10 list. In that video, I asked you guys what are some survival tools that you would recommend that last forever, and you responded. The following top 10 list was boiled down from those suggestions, so let's get to it. The most popular item on the list had to be cast iron cookware, whether that was a skillet, a Dutch oven, or a wood stove. There's a reason why the pioneers committed to carrying these massive chunks of metal across the frontier, and it's because they're built to last damn near forever. In fact, they lasted so long that they were often passed down as family heirlooms. In addition to durability, cast iron also has excellent heat retention. Whereas many conventional pots and pans dissipate heat rather quickly and don't distribute that heat throughout the entire surface of the cookware, cast iron doesn't have that problem. In addition, you can put cast iron cookware directly onto the coals of a fire and not have to worry about damaging or warping your pot and burning the food that's contained within it. Over time, oil that's released from the food that you cook in there saturates into the pores of the cast iron. This creates a natural lubricant, which creates a very similar but far less toxic surface than modern day Teflon. And in addition, using a cast iron stove can actually prevent iron deficiency, which may well be a factor in a survival situation. Now, this isn't something that you're going to lug around the wilderness in your backpack, but if you do have a mode of commuting or a bug out location, having cast iron cookware makes the most sense for long-term survival. Up next is a paracord belt. The reality is you're always going to need a belt, so why not make that belt multifunctional? At least if you get yourself in a bind, you know that as a last-ditch resort, you have hundreds of feet of high tensile strength cordage wrapped around your waist. I've worn my paracord belt for nearly 3 years straight, and I swear by it every day. Sure, it may not be the most stylish thing in the world if you live a predominantly urbanite existence, but if I ever had to build a shelter, tow a vehicle, catch a fish, make a bow drill, hell, make an actual bow, make a tourniquet to save somebody's life, and countless other survival applications that cordage can be used for, I would have that capability. Now, you can make your own paracord belt relatively cheaply. I'm going to post a link in the description to YouTube's paracord master, Paracord Guild, and he's going to show you how to make one. Just be careful that if you do purchase paracord, that it's authentic 550 military standard grade paracord. I would recommend making your paracord belt out of either SURVIVORCORD or SURVIVORCORD XT. This is a product I talked about in the last video. Go check it out in the description. Now, if you're lazy like me, you can always go out and buy a paracord belt. If you're interested in that, I'll post a link in the description. Up next is this jumbo fire steel, which is appropriately named Magnum XL. I've actually reviewed this one on the channel before. This has a 1-inch diameter and it's 6 inches long. You're going to get more strikes out of this ferrocerium rod than you're going to see hours of your life left on this earth. This would probably be the last ferrocerium rod that you ever had to buy. The only problem is that it does weigh a pound. So again, like a lot of the items on this list, they're not necessarily tailored towards bugging out. Rather, we're talking about survival tools that last forever. And as a friend of mine used to say, lightweight, durable, and cheap. Pick 2 of those. That's the best you're ever going to get. If there ever was a dual post-collapse urban scavenging tool, the STANLEY FATMAX FUBAR demolition tool has to be one of the best tools on the market for breaching, demolition, prying, hammering, and even some self-defense applications. Now, I personally bought this as an impulse buy with my Canadian Tire money about a year ago, but if you go on Amazon and you see the actual reviews of this thing, it's very rare this day and age that you get a product that has a solid 5-star rating. This thing is just a big, bad chunk of steel, which very few standard doors out there are going to be able to compete with. Now up next is probably one of the most popular things that I don't own, and that is the Kelly Kettle. This is very popular amongst bushcrafters and outdoorsmen, and it has quite the cult following, very similar to the firebox stove that I reviewed in the last video. It's essentially a stove and a kettle all in one. And just like the firebox, you can use natural fuel like sticks and twigs and grass and bark that you would find in your natural environment to heat up your water. Now most kettles are designed to boil water from the outside in. This one boils it from the inside out. So it's an interesting concept, and of course it's seemingly built to last a long time. Now in the last video I gave a shout out to my Silky Nada, which is my personal favorite hatchet, but people were insistent that I talked about axes and saws. Now axes are undoubtedly better for splitting and chopping, but which one will really last the longest? That's what our discussion is about here. There are several European axe manufacturers which are the preferred choice of experienced woodsmen around the world. And this is due to their ability to carry a razor sharp edge and to be transferred to a different handle should that wooden handle get compromised. But truth be told, the longest lasting axes without the need to tinker with wooden handles are probably going to be Estwings. Now, I personally don't own an Estwing, but through common sense, I can reason that a full tang axe made of one solid chunk of steel is probably going to last darn near forever. Now, word on the street is, as you would expect, these axes are not as well balanced, meaning a lot of the weight is going to be in the handle, and that's going to limit the impact power that you're able to generate. And they're also said not to hold as sharp of an edge. The steel isn't as good as those traditional axes, and they're said to be less ergonomic than wooden handle axes, as a lot of the force from the chop is going to reverberate throughout your hand. And lastly, they're a little bit heavier than these other axes. So will it last forever, barring some 1 in a million manufacturing defect where it just splits in half one day? Absolutely. Is it the best cutting axe on the market? Based on my research, absolutely not. Up next is a G-Shock watch. Now this one came up in the comments as well, but I've actually also owned and done a review on the G-Shock Tough Solar watch. I bought it for the same reason I buy all the survival gear I buy, and that's because it was built to last a long time, and it was built to run on the power of the sun. The G-Shock product line is also the choice of many militaries around the world, including the Navy SEALs. Now, if you don't think time would be important in a survival situation, I'm going to post a video that I did specifically about this topic. Indeed, it's most certainly not an essential survival item, but it's very useful for managing time and communicating and strategizing with others. Without time, civilization doesn't function. I've owned my G-Shock for more than 5 years and I've never charged it once. Now, I've since replaced it with the Galaxy Gear S3 watch just because there's more functionality, and for my highly active lifestyle, it just made more sense. But if the crap ever hit the fan, I know that I would be relying on the G-Shock to keep time into perpetuity. Now, the G-Shock watch, like many of the Casio watches, are quartz-based watches. The short of it is they rely on batteries. There are also mechanical watches, which, as the name denotes, are far more complex. They have a lot more moving parts, and unless you have a Swiss clockmaker in the family, you may want to steer away from these for long-term survival purposes. But automatic watches, which require winding, would probably be my next choice. There's a brand of watches called Marathon watches, which are Swiss-made military-grade watches, and of course, they also contain tritium luminescence as well. These watches are basically designed for battle. I'll post a link in the description if you want more information. Up next is a diving compass. Gordon Lawrence recommends a diving compass over a standard compass. He does indicate that it's a bit heavier and it's a bit larger than you would expect, but that it's incredibly durable. These compasses are built to withstand the pressure of deep undersea diving, so obviously they're going to be built very tough. Now, if you're wanting like the cat's meow of military grade compasses, then you can check out the Commenga 3H Tritium Military Compass. Tritium is a radioluminescent gas which is contained in a very small tube, and it's going to emit light for up to 12 years. This lensatic compass incorporates that tritium to assist you with navigation in low light conditions. Now, this doesn't mean the compass is going to stop working after 12 years. This thing has an aluminum frame and obviously waterproof housing, so it's built to be highly ruggedized for the wilderness wanderers of the world. Go check it out through the link in the description. Most people don't realize this, but a good compass is not only used for navigation. With a compass and a long string, you can survey and measure large areas of land with incredible accuracy. Knowing where you're going in a survival situation is paramount. Now, people have also asked me what is a Silky Saw that I would recommend. Now, I'm not going to sit here and claim that a Silky Saw is going to last forever. As most people know, I am a Silky Saw fanboy, as evidenced in my library of Silky Saw videos, and I stand by those. And truth be told, for the price of a premium Japanese saw, you can go down to your local hardware store and get dozens of bow saw blades. But in my personal opinion, the benefits of Japanese pull saws for bushcraft are so numerous, there really is no competition. They're more agile, they're quicker to deploy, they cut way faster, there's far more different variations, which includes different types of blades, different thickness of blades, different angles of blades, different TPI or teeth per inch ratings. They're less dangerous, there's no learning curve, they require less energy, there's cleaner cuts, they stay sharp longer, and they're more packable. And that's just what I can think of off the top of my head. And the other problem is that there are very few traditional buck saw manufacturers. You know, those buck saws that the pioneers use when they're coming across the frontier. Unfortunately, these are very hard to find nowadays. Now, as a side note, if there are brands that you would recommend we bring to CanadianPreparedness.com, then I would be more than happy to oblige. But barring competition lumberjacking, these saws are very hard to find. Now, the most well-rounded Silky Saws, in my opinion, are the Zubat line. They come in a variety of sizes from 240mm up to 390mm. It is by far the best-selling and the most robust full-tang fixed blade saw you can buy. Now, it's not to say it's the fastest or that it's the best for every job. There's a lot of great folding saws out there, but if we're talking about what's going to last the longest, typically I'm putting my money on a full-tang fixed blade saw. And lastly, this is a bigger ticket item, but this came up in the comments as well, and it's something we actually retail at CanadianPreparedness.com. It's not going to be for everybody, and it's certainly not necessary, but it's worth mentioning the MSR Multifuel Stove. This stove has been around for decades, and it burns nearly every type of fuel you can imagine, from white gas to kerosene to standard unleaded gasoline, diesel, aviation gas, anything you can imagine, this thing can run on it. So long as the gasoline is still flowing in the Mad Max world, MSR Multifuel Stove may be something to consider. Now, there are many other items which were mentioned. Among those things were things like the All-American pressure cooker, a $20 Nokia phone, which makes perfect sense. Nokia makes very robust phones. Some of the original Nokia phones still work today. They're simple, dumb phones which came from an era when people were still smart enough to build things that lasted. One commenter recommended a canvas tarp, and you can waterproof that canvas tarp with beeswax. That's going to last you damn near forever. Not going to be ultra light, but it's going to be cheap and it's going to be long lasting. Remember, the 2 of 3 rule. Now, I'm going to reach out to my subscribers once again, and I'm going to ask you to please add more suggestions in the comment section of very durable survival, camping, preparedness related products that are going to last forever. They don't have to be specific brands, they can just be concepts, like the comment about the canvas tarp. But I'm really interested to hear what you have to say. Check out those links if you want more information. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not a subscriber yet. Just bear in mind that I tend to jump around with different topics. So if you like videos of this nature, it may be only 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 of the videos I do. So bear with me. Thanks for watching. Canadian Prepper out. The best way to support this channel is by gearing up through CanadianPreparedness.com. We got high quality gear, and I mean high quality gear only. There are free shipping options, and my subscribers get an exclusive discount of 10% off. Use coupon code SURVIVALPREPPER in all caps, one word, at the checkout. Thanks for your support.